Hello, my name is Regina Robinson, and with me here is my colleague, Mr. Mark Onuchi. And today we are here with Barrister Oritsematosan Edodo-Emore. She's the WIMOCA president, and we are here to hear her views about the maritime space in Nigeria. Please don't go away, stay tuned. Yourself?
Oh, my name is Oritsematosan Edodo-Emore. I'm an international maritime lawyer. I practice law in Lagos, and I'm the president of the Women in Maritime of Western Central Africa Nigeria branch.
All right, now tell us more about you.
Interesting. Me. About my work, like I said, I practice law, and I specialize in maritime law. And I've done that in more than 20 years now in Lagos. I'm active in maritime associations. By the grace of God, I'm now the president of WIMOCA, but I'm active at the Nigerian Maritime Law Association, at the Women International Maritime International Shipping and Trading Association. I'm also a member of the Women in Maritime Africa. So my professional life is active, and so is my social life.
Well, that's interesting. You are also the distinguished chair of Zoo Maritime Resources.
Yes, I am, yes.
We'd just like you to give us an insight of the maritime space comparable to other countries. Do you think the Nigerian maritime space is doing enough or is doing well?
Excellent question. Excellent question. First of all, yes, I'd like to say that the maritime space in Nigeria is rich, although its benefits have not been adequately tapped. And I would say that maritime, if properly harnessed, would bring us much more resources than oil currently does. There's a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of support that needs to be given to Nigerian business persons who are involved in that space. The reason being that currently the materials that make maritime possible and gainful is actually in the hands of foreigners. And by that I mean you need vessels to carry. First of all, let's start from the fact that 90% of the world cargo is moved by ships. That means that any country that is by the sea, any coastal country, automatically would be involved in the movement of persons and cargo by ship. And they would normally be involved in this 90%. Now, in Nigeria, especially in West Africa, the bulk of the cargo that is destined for the West African coast is actually destined for Nigeria. So Nigeria controls the largest amount of cargo. But you would ask, so who owns all these ships that is bringing all this cargo? Because that's where the gain is. True. Transporting the cargo. But the vessels are owned by different shipping companies that do not belong to Nigerians. So that means that Nigeria's foreign trade is carried by outsiders.
Wow.
And so if we want our people, if we want to get maximum benefit from this trade, then we need to invest in our people being able to own the instruments of trade, and that is the vessels. So, but this takes a deliberate effort. It takes many things. In many of the countries where these ships come from, they have banks, institutions that support the acquisition of vessels at single-digit interest. On the contrary, in our jurisdiction, it's very difficult for Nigerian business persons to obtain reasonable loans to finance maritime, because here our banks say that the monies that they receive are short-term funds, and so they're not able to lend for long-term, and they're not able to do that single digit. So that's where, I mean, that's the work that needs to be done, and it's in our country. I think the work needs to be done by government. That is a deliberate, intentional effort. Perhaps the Bank of Industry, but certainly there needs to be an injection of funds that make it possible for our people to be able to be practically involved in maritime in a gainful way.
Wow. 1 minute.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay. So a follow-up question to that. I mean, it's really worrisome because that's a serious capital flight challenge. And so, what would you suggest moving forward as a maritime voice, within the space, how the government can really be fully involved in ensuring that we don't have these capital flight issues? So what
I think that there are many things to be done. There are some basic things on ground that needs to be improved upon, right? Now, let us start with small vessels. We have what is called the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, which has been built since 2003, when the Cabotage Act was passed.
Yes.
And so in that fund, they're saving 2% of every contract that is worked in the industry in that fund. But unfortunately, that fund has not yet been disbursed. But the fund is there, although it's for smaller vessels. Cabotage vessel, that means vessels that you see that service the oil and gas industry, cargo, anchor handling vessels, crew boats, and all of that. So that's a start, because that is also financing maritime. So maybe we could start first of all by actually causing what has been saved in the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund to be disbursed. That's number one, right? So you disburse that fund, and we would be able to finance the maritime aspect of the oil and gas, servicing the vessels that are working in the oil and gas industry. Then, secondly, we have the NCDMB, Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, has a $350,000 fund at the Bank of Industry, and that fund is for financing Nigerian content in maritime. And so some companies, as at today, up to 10 shipping companies have accessed that fund in building capacity and all of that. So maybe that fund needs to be increased from where it is now. Although the Bank of Industry has been given very good reports about the use of the funds, about the people, the companies that have accessed the funds, and the fact that they have been repaying the loan, because it's a loan. They have been a loan at single digit.
Okay.
So, in fact, the Nigerian Content Office, as it were, is intervening in the way that it should, in the way that in other countries they have institutions funding maritime. So Nigerian Content Office has stepped in that way. So that's a good beginning. So what we need to do is to build on what Nigerian Content office has started.
Exactly how the maritime and blue economy can be fully harnessed, because nothing serious is really being done so far.
Yeah, but I think that the starting point is the fact that today there is a federal ministry of marine and blue economy.
Sure.
That's a gain, and you must applaud the country for establishing that ministry after so many years and so many people who clamored for that ministry to come out of the Federal Ministry of Transportation. So that means now that we have a dedicated ministry that can zero in on maritime and not be bogged with road or rail or anything, but it's zeroing in on maritime. So that's a gain, and I think that one shouldn't really say there's nothing happening there. No, I think it's too early to say that. Why? Because the ministry is new. At least the ministry is as new as the present administration. So it's what, like 2 years old?
But the sector has been in existence.
Yes. The sector has always been in existence, right? But the channel through which one will zero in on the sector has only just been created. So we must make room for learning. But now, in fact, we should say that for the fact that the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy has been created, for that fact alone, it means that there is now no reason for maritime not to flourish. Yes. So what we should be doing now is concentrating on developing the industry. And how do we develop the industry? By one, like I said before, enabling our business persons to be able to own the assets that move the industry. That's number one. Number two, we need to build the institutions that support the industry. And to my mind, we need to build the institutions that support the financing of the industry. And that means doing something about banking. Right. Presently, our commercial banks say that the funds that they receive are short-term funds, and so they're not able to fund maritime, because maritime is a marathon. So it's long-term financing at single digit. Sure. And at the smallest of the single digits. Right? So we need to begin to build institutions that will support the financing of maritime. And like I said, I mean, it's an interplay of government and private enterprise, but it is always government intentionality that's leading it. So that's number two. Number three is building the manpower that supports the industry. And it's very interesting because maritime is international. So even if we build our human capacity locally, the people that we train here would be able to work in anywhere in the world.
True.
And bringing foreign resources into our coffers. So that means it's important for us to intentionally train seafarers. We have examples. We can take the examples of the Philippines, for example. You would find that many of the vessels all over the world are manned by Filipinos.
True.
Because that country is intentionally training maritime capacity to serve the world. So we have the population. So what we need now is we have the Maritime Academy at Oron. We need to equip the academy to be such that it's not only serving Nigeria, but it's serving the continent.
The continental market.
Yes, there's a similar academy in Accra. Yes, regional academy in Accra. But we already have something in Nigeria, so we need to build it. We need to build it. We need to equip it. We need to call attention to what they're doing there. In November last year, I was one of the guest lecturers who lectures in their quarterly series of maritime subjects, and I had the.
Is it the one in Oron?
In Oron, yes, and I had the opportunity to be taken on a tour of the facilities that are there. That institution is very, very well equipped. But in my mind, I don't think that it has enough publicity, enough attention paid to it to drive it as the maritime institution of record in the sub-region. So we need to. We have the place there, so we need to build it up. So if we do that, if we make it possible for our business persons to be able to own the assets that drive maritime, we're able to build the institutions that finance maritime, and we develop the manpower that drives maritime, and also we intentionally concentrate on women, development of women in maritime. Why? Because presently the statistics coming out of the International Maritime Organization says that of the world maritime workforce, only 2% of the workforce are women. So that means there's a huge gap to be filled by women, which needs to be harnessed. And I believe that if we did these things, then we would flourish in maritime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've said quite a bit. Yes, but my curiosity lies in policies, regulatory frameworks, and other, because you're an international maritime lawyer. So we'd just like you to give us insight on possible lapses. We talked about the marine and blue economy. We talked about the maritime space. Don't you think we have what you might consider as legal deficits when it comes to regulatory frameworks to drive all of this area, the space, then the marine and blue and marine economy?
Okay, let's say, for example, the parastatals that drive maritime. One, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, which at national level helps us to understand what the International Maritime Organization does and helps to implement the requirements of the International Maritime Organization in Nigeria. So safety, all the safety regulations and things. And then you have the NPA, the Nigerian Shippers Council, and the National Inland Waterways. Now, like I said before, shipping is international. And at the IMO is the one that brings out the legislations that govern maritime all over the world, the conventions that countries have to domesticate and begin to use. One thing that we would notice is that many countries, especially those advanced countries, when it comes to attending IMO meetings where all these world maritime issues are yes, conceptualized, pursued, evolved, and all that. They usually have the same. They usually like take it as a desk for someone, right? The same person going to the IMO, following the processes all through. Unfortunately, at our end, there's too much changing of personnel that go there. For example, today, Tosan will go there. Tomorrow, Binta will go. Another day, another time, John will go. Like that. That way, we are not building expertise as it should be done, as other people are doing. Because if you have been, if you have been following the IMO work, for example, all through you have been following it in the last 10 years until maybe you retire, but of course somebody is taking over from you. There is continuity, there is development, and you are building knowledge. Exactly. You are building knowledge that is good for your country. Right? That way, you are able to add value. But if there's constant change, it's a break in transition. So you are not able to add value. You do not understand what is going on because different people. So I think that we need us, and that actually is a reflection of our country, because in many things that we do, once maybe one person who was there before leaves, another person comes. The new person usually wants to start their own all over again. Exactly. Thing. So we need to deliberately break that habit. It's a bad habit that doesn't develop the country. So if we did that, I think that there would be great development we would move faster than we are doing now. We would add value to the industry locally and internationally much more than we're doing now. So that's the flaw that I see, and it's a grave flaw. It's a grave flaw because other countries are not going to be waiting for us to put our act together. No. We just have to do that by ourselves.
So, Ma, can you tell us about WIMOCA and the value that WIMOCA has added in the maritime space?
Yes, okay. So WIMOCA stands for Women in Maritime of West and Central Africa. It's a Women in Maritime organization set up by the International Maritime Organization. Like I said before, that only 2% of the maritime workforce are women. So because of that, the IMO is taking deliberate steps to encourage women to enter the maritime industry. And one of the ways which they seek to address this is by establishing women in maritime organizations all over the world. And WIMOCA is the 8th regional women in maritime organizations that have been set up. In Africa, there is WOMESA, which is Women in Maritime of Southern Africa. East and Southern Africa. So, but in West Africa there was none. So in 2021, the Secretary General at the IMO inaugurated WIMOCA in Ghana. So the head office of WIMOCA is in Ghana, and the regional president is called Asana Owu, based in Ghana. She's the Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Shippers Council. So, so it's an organization that encourages women in the maritime industry. We train, we mentor women, and we champion, the development of women, their movement up the ladder in the maritime industry, seeing that they are in managerial positions, projecting them and developing their businesses and their contributions. So that's what WUMOCA does generally. And in Nigeria, of course, we've been here since the inauguration. Countries in the West and Central Africa were encouraged to set up their national chapters, and so we set up the WUMOCA Nigeria.
How many years ago?
Since that 2021. So we've been around in the last 4 years. Time is flying, but like joke, 4 years has passed since.
Just like yesterday.
Yes, just like yesterday. Since then. And what value do we bring to the table? I think that we bring the value of knowledge, skills, being in the industry, supporting one another, encouraging younger people to come into the industry, mentoring. We encourage younger people to join the association. We hold seminars, webinars. We train ourselves and we ask other people to join us in the training. So we're building capacity, and we're building capacity for women in the industry, and demystifying the industry. Because the industry has been male dominated for a long time, there are some people who think, maritime, isn't it? It's only for men, something like that. So, we're trying to break all of those barriers and make it an attractive industry for women to come into.
Alright, so as a woman thriving in the men's domain, how were you able to shatter all the barriers? Because you must have broken so much barriers before you got to the environment.
Frankly, how am I able to shatter the barriers? I think that the important thing is persistence. And it's very interesting that, for example, when I first started practicing law, when I was a newbie, I was just called to the bar, and I was looking for chambers to practice at. And me and my girlfriend, we went to this place in Kaduna. The principal came out of his office, took one look at us, and he said, "I don't employ women." He actually said that. "I don't employ women."
Black.
And in fact, we were so stunned that sometimes when I remember it now, it's a laughing matter, but at that time it was not a laughing matter. I mean, I don't employ women. So what were we supposed to do now? So those are the kind of things, but I don't know that today you see that kind of blatant confrontation. No. But of course, that didn't deter us. We continued, because even as a lawyer, you are called a gentleman in skirt, So I think that just doing the work, being persistent at the work, as you continue to do the work, people see the value that you add. And value adding has no sex. So when you add value, people come to you, whether or not you are a man, whether or not you are a woman, whether or not you are white, whether or not you are black. So the value addition is what is important. And how do you add value? You add value by, first of all, having the requisite knowledge. That means studying and being skilled in the area, and then have the determination to deliver on the subject. So I think that by the grace of God, I've been able to do this, and that naturally propels you forward.
Wow, nice one. So you've traveled far and wide. So compared to transportation in other countries, how would you rate the transport system in Nigeria?
We're a developing country, so we're a developing country, and so our transportation system, of course, is not as organized as other countries. It needs, it leaves much to be desired. There's a lot of work to be done, but I think that we're making progress. Especially, like if you take a state like Lagos, Lagos State is very dynamic, and I see them taking on the transport sector by storm. For example, LASWA is very active in water transportation, and they're trying to create an integrated mode in Lagos, water to meet road to meet rail, which is what really ought to happen nationally. But I think that if the Lagos scheme is successful, then the federal government as well as other states can easily see what is happening in Lagos and just copy it. That is it. So if we copy the Lagos model, I think that the transport situation in Nigeria would be improved.
Okay, so now in the last 5 years, can you speak on the improvements you've seen in the maritime space?
First of all, I have seen, in terms of development, I have seen the involvement of women in the maritime space. I have seen a galvanizing of the involvement of women in the maritime space, and I think that is important. That is important. So that's one. And of course, we have all seen the creation of the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, which is a value addition. Number two, we have seen the establishment of is it the establishment? We have seen the Nigerian Shippers Council transforming into a port economic regulator. I think that's important for administration. Also, we have seen the development of deep sea ports. Now we have Lekki, but there's Akwa Ibom being developed, and there are other ones being developed. And what's the advantage of that? It just means that Nigeria, first of all, the ports in Nigeria are able to accept very large vessels bringing in export trade into Nigeria. That of course it's important because it has a multiplier effect. So I think that in the last 5 years there has been development, even though we would like the situation to be better. But I'm an optimist all the time. I look at the good side, and I think that we're making progress, and we should continue to make progress.
That's interesting. Talking about optimism, it's very obvious that you've been part of several crusades, championing women-related associations. You've been part of several, and you have also been very active. I'd like to know what drives you to, pushing the frontiers and ensuring women participation across, and just driving the gospel of women involvement in the maritime space.
I don't know whether I have the answer to that question, because it's not as though anything is driving me.
Yeah, but you seem very passionate.
Yes, let's just say that when I have a responsibility, I try to fulfill that responsibility, because ordinarily I'm usually a reserved person. I'm usually in the background and usually quiet and not speaking to anyone. But whenever I'm given a responsibility, then I usually put my whole energy to it. So it's because, for example, because I was made president of WIMOCA, because I was vice president of WISTA, because I'm the treasurer of the Nigerian Maritime Association, because I'm the secretary general of the Franco-Nigeria Chamber of Commerce, like that. Just it's because of the responsibility that I was given. If I didn't have these responsibilities, you would not see me and you would not hear my voice.
Wow, that was interesting.
Okay, so finally, what are the things you think the government still need to do to further advance the maritime sector?
I think it's what I said before, and I think really the issue of financing the acquisition of maritime assets is profound. It's profound because it's like how can I compare it? It's like being in your house, right? Or being in your compound and seeing other people come into your compound and begin to take all your fruits away and you're not able to do anything. It's that kind of thing. And that's how it is in maritime. We are a coastal state. So God has naturally placed us at the coast and given us all of the resources of the sea. So it is now left for us to take advantage of everything that has been given to us. But the reality of the situation is that people from other climes and other jurisdictions are the ones who are taking the benefits. They are the ones who are coming to fish in our waters and carry all of the fish, even the juveniles, away. Right? They are the ones who are carrying our international trade. It shouldn't be so. But it will continue to be so long as we do not wake up and decide that we want to carry all of these products by ourselves. We want our people to own the ships. How do they do that? By helping them to own it.